I got a request to show my stilts, and so I'm going to show you 4 or 5 ways to fire something that has glaze on it, even glaze on the back. So I'll just start with the closest one here. This is a little pot that I thought was going to drip too much, and you can see where the glaze has pooled down here at the bottom. And for this one, and it didn't actually drip. Some of it did get down onto the foot, but it didn't go any further than that. With the kiln wash, it was able to stay right there. So for those things like this that have a foot that can just sit down here, but I don't want them, I'd rather destroy this than a kiln shelf. So I put kiln wash all over this. This is nothing more than a wafer thin thrown piece of clay. And I put a little lip on the edge of it so that if anything got really crazy, it would be contained in this. So with kiln wash on this, sit that right there. It did just fine. So I guess you could consider that sort of a stilt. It's a catcher in a sort of way. An actual stilt, a couple of things that are purchased. Let me get this down here. Let me see it better. I use these little ceramic stilts sometimes. Actually, I will avoid using a stilt at all if I possibly can. But they make these little ceramic ones. They're very delicate. They break if you just look at them cross-eyed. And they come in all different shapes. Here's a little triangular button. When I have something that is dry foot, and I think the glaze is going to run, I can just put it on something like that and fire it just fine. No problem. I never put a ceramic, one of these type of stilts on anything that has glaze on it. And I'll show you the reason. I've got a little Bobek here that my kiln manager put one of these on it, and when it popped off, the glaze was all on here, and there was just a big hole right there. There's like a 1/4 of an inch in 3 places. And I had to grind it to make it smooth, and then put a little paint on it to match, to try to blend the color in. Thank goodness it was on the bottom of this, so it's really not a big deal. But it could be a big deal depending on what you're doing. So, so that takes care of the ceramic stilts. If I have something that has glaze on the bottom, I will, and you can probably see the pinholes right there. There are 3 pinholes right in this area, right here. Let's see if I can get those up there close enough to, so yeah, there they are. So if something has glaze all over the foot and all over the front, then I can use a wire stilt. And this is manufactured, and it has Nichrome wires sticking up out of it as little pegs. So you can just put it in the kiln like that, and it's fine. These don't tend to wick the glaze down onto them the way these do. Just a word of caution. If I'm doing something like this, let me move this over here. If I'm doing something like this little dragon, and the foot of it is just really messy, and there's a place where it looks like I ground that off where it dripped really bad, I will put it on something, on the wires. I don't put it on anything ceramic. Let me move that right there. if I have a little animal like so, and I'll usually wipe off the belly and the bottom of the feet so that I can just set it in the kiln that way. This usually works fine. But if I wanted to, if I thought I was going to have runny glaze, I can come up with some other ways of doing this. And that would be to make these little gumdrop looking things out of clay and fire them, bisque fire them. These are just, you just make a little ball, and then you can make the top of it come to a point, or you can kind of flatten it off there. So then you can set your, let me get one more. You can set your little animal or whatever you've got. You can set that right on there like so and fire it that way. Don't mash it down on there. If you mash it down on there, you have the possibility of that clay coming up and contacting the glaze, and then you'll have a permanently attached little pig. It's more like a Hershey kiss, really. You start out that way, and then you put something on it to flatten it out to sort of make it level. You could also make just a little biscuit and set it on there like that to save your kiln shelf. And those are, sometimes I'll even do that with a bowl, or if I have candlestick that I think is going to go crazy, because I can break this off and I can grind off whatever is left. I can usually use these till I lose them, really. This I can use till it just gets so brittle it breaks, and it's no good anymore, but that's after a long time. Okay, you can probably see it better like that. If you can see the little hooks that are coming out of this rod right here. So I'm going to back up a little bit. You can see the hooks. And then you can see the hooks in this one that's laying down here. Whoops. That's laying down here. You can see the little hooks that are sticking up out of that. Okay. So this is a tube, and it's just stoneware. It's a stoneware tube. And I have no light. Very overcast today. Okay. So this is a stoneware tube. Just a hollow tube that makes it nice and durable, and it prevents sagging. So you make the little hooks out of Nichrome wire that you can buy online. Comes in a little thing, looks like this. You can snip off however much you need. Make sure that you buy it to, it's Nichrome wire, and it's heat resistant. So you can buy it according to whatever temperature you're going to fire at. So if you're doing cone tin, be sure you pay attention to what cone you're buying or what temperature you're buying. So you can make little hooks, and if you stick them into the tube, it will, as the clay shrinks, it will grab hold of those little hooks and hang on to it. So those things don't move. They don't twirl around. I guess eventually, if you banged it around enough, you could probably knock one loose. But I usually prop them up like you see here on a bead tree. Bead trees just didn't have enough room, and usually the little wires that they provide for you on a bead tree usually were not strong enough to hold student type work because it wasn't delicate enough or small enough. And sometimes I'll break off the top part of the bead tree and grind that smooth, or make it have a little dip so that these will sit right down in there. So that's the way I do beads, or actually I've done flutes and those little Zelda flutes and whistles and things like that this way. So that's a quick little info thing on what I used for stilts. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye.